Check. It'd be my voice over my voice. And one of me is too much already.
I got to admit, Josh, they got you. You said they don't take the L and all of that stuff, and they won the game. So
we need more players named Johnny and Aaron. So actually, Aaron Rodgers has done plenty of stupid things. I'm sure I can find some sound bites there. So I haven't yet, but it's there.
Is this the end of the road for Johnny?
I believe it is.
I love that one. All right. I think I'm good on my end. Let's see here. Check 1, 2. Let me run one of these.
Is this the end of the road for Johnny?
All right. All right. Well, if everyone's good. Oh, hang on. Let me pop that guy on. All right. YouTube hello, by the way. Thanks for being here. All right. What an episode we got for you tonight. All right. I don't even have water, but it doesn't matter. All right.
Nothing matters.
All right.
Nothing matters.
I'll get us started.
Welcome to the Fifth and Goal Sports Podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Aaron, Josh, and Johnny.
Well, it's a pity there's nothing to talk about tonight. It's a real pity. There's only one football game left, and it's just kind of all downhill from here. No football. Whatever shall we discuss? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. We have the opposite problem. We are talking before the show. We're trying to cut things in the show tonight because there's that much chaos that has happened. Basically, here's where we're at, and you know this as a sports fan. Baseball's best umpire just got fired for having a sports betting account with his friend. That would lead our show a lot of weeks. That's what I just said. That's probably as much as we're going to talk about.
Kelly went to the Raiders, and we're not going to talk about it. We might, but we won't.
Right. Jim Knowles, highest paid coordinator in college football.
Doesn't matter.
Chip Kelly, now the highest paid coordinator in the NFL. Yeah, we're not going to really talk about that either because obviously we are talking about the Luka trade.
Finally, the Mavs got a defensive player.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they fixed their defensive issues, Josh.
Defensive issues. We were worried it was a little bit too pass heavy. It was a little too much scoring going on, apparently, for Nico. A little too much excitement in the brand. And you know what they say: defense wins championships. So let's get a 34-year-old. That'll fix it.
No, he's 32. You've got a couple more years of his prime.
All right, two fewer years away from death. Great.
Yeah. I'd also like to preface that Josh said pre-show, I'm not going to yell at all.
Oh, I said we're not getting yelling, Josh.
Well, here we are. Josh, I'd ask you, because you're in Dallas, and we'll get to our weeks. I realize our weeks are kind of what we're describing right now as well. So I don't want to totally ignore Josh's week time like I did last week. But, Josh, I was going to ask you, and I still will, even though I know the answer to this question. How are things in Dallas? And the reason I know the answer to that question is because TikTok knows exactly what I want to see and has just been feeding me just distraught fans like in the fetal position, like on the floor of their homes, watching the Cavs put up 91 at halftime. So I know how things are going in Dallas, but Josh, how are things in Dallas?
They took a casket to the arena. They took an empty casket.
They took an empty casket to the. So here's the actual vibe. One, Luka bought a house last week.
Mm-hmm.
They're wrong for that. They're wrong
for that. Jason Kidd did not know about this trade.
That poor man.
That poor man. You could tell there were no lights in his eyes. There genuinely. Do you remember was it just last week? It feels like it's been a big week.
Mm-hmm.
Just last week, we were talking about what are the legitimate excuses for changing loyalty mid-adulthood.
Right.
If you're a kid and you didn't grow up in an NBA team or in an NBA town and you moved to like, I don't know, Chicago, and you're like, I guess I want to root for the Bulls this year. Cool. Why? But two, we allowed that because there was no fandom ahead of time. We talked about maybe marriage but we really came to like, there's not a ton of circumstances. The amount of people who are canceling season tickets, returning whatever tickets they did have. There's a lot of people just going straight up, I don't care about basketball anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, yeah, we didn't talk about betrayal, did we?
We did not talk about
betrayal as an option.
We didn't talk about an owner, not Mark Cuban. Stop saying it's Mark Cuban. He's a minority owner.
You guys, you're not
years.
Following. He'd never would have done that. He never would have done that.
Real quick, we're not going to get into yelling, Josh. I'm not clipping on my recording yet, so I think I can go a little bit harder. Mark Cuban has said if it came down to his wife or Luka, he would have lawyers. He would have lawyers within the hour because he wouldn't get rid of Luka. He had interviews years ago where he's like, I hate trading. He's like, sometimes you got to do it because the nature of things. He's like, you don't think about trading. You don't think about trading, he said, when things are going well. That's what I've heard at least.
Are they going well, Josh? Have the Mavs done anything in the last year or so? Did they accomplish anything as a team?
I'm so glad you said that. I mean, Luka did not represent the United States in the Olympics, so I think that's been something that Nico was real frustrated with. Yeah, they only went to the finals. It's okay. He only led them to the finals.
Yeah.
And we went, okay, we're close. But then apparently he got fat. He got up to 270 pounds on a 6'5" frame.
He's a little taller than that, but yeah, right.
Yeah, 6'7". Yeah, like what? Yeah, he's fine. Also, and I don't want to be mean. How big Zion? Can we?
Yeah, there's
that's
levels.
Not mean.
There's
Josh,
levels to this.
No, that's not mean. No. There was time for us to like, hey man, he's only 20. Give him a break. No more, man. No more.
How many times has Ben Simmons been on the court and still getting more money?
We can bully both of those guys. That's fine. Aaron, is the story that I heard that this is the same guy who used to work for Nike and botched the Steph Curry deal real? Is that true?
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
I saved it.
Oh my gosh. How did he get hired? I mean, it's the definition of failing up.
Well, what's amazing is he got hired. They go to the finals. He gets an extension. The Mavericks extend Nico, and then
because he pulled off the Kyrie trade.
Yeah, but you know the funny thing is, like we talked about that at the time it happened, and we said like, oh, I don't think that works, and we were mostly proven wrong because they made the finals. So okay,
yeah,
sure. But now I'm sitting here like maybe we weren't wrong. Like I don't know.
Apparently, he was getting Kyrie to replace Luka.
Yeah, apparently. So what's crazy is the two teams that made the Western Conference Finals, and we talked about this at the beginning. In peak football season, we talked about this. Why on earth would you trade Karl Anthony Towns if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves? Why on earth? Unless he's like some locker room cancer or something is happening, or there's like sharp disagreement between like, I don't know, him and Anthony Edwards. But there was nothing at the time that showed that that was the case. And so we went about our merry way. The Knicks are looking great. The Timberwolves are going to struggle to even make the play-in tournament in the West. And surely that was the dumbest decision the NBA will see this year by a team of that caliber, a team that was contending at that level. I mean, look, hypothetically, the Mavericks could be right about this, but overwhelmingly, when people see the news and they triple check and they think, gosh, is this NBA Centel, like you said, Johnny, earlier? That's probably a bad sign. That probably means this trade stinks.
So here's multiple people have tried running this trade through 2K, and 2K has bots that check and go, oh, I don't think, this guy's like the face of the franchise. Unless the offer, I think one of this is, unless it blows my mind, then I'm not going to take this trade. And that's just like what the video game says, to basically just say don't. Mm-hmm. Apparently, they didn't try and run Anthony Davis and a 2029 first-round pick through. That would have done it.
I mean, the SpongeBob memes, like, it has been a gold mine the last few days on Twitter and all the social medias, because it's just been fantastic. I mean, the rumor today was, at least information was, that originally Dallas was supposed to get both of the Lakers' first-round picks.
Oh, yeah, the rumor is that
literally they talked Dallas down. They gaslit them with saying, "Oh, but Luka's kind of overweight. He's a little injury prone.
Drinks a lot."
Giving them Anthony Davis. You're talking about injury prone. The only reason that man hasn't been hurt every moment the last few seasons is because he's LeBron's teammate.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, I truly believe
LeBron,
that.
I think Luka has gotten better, but Luka is still pretty ball selfish at times.
He's ball centric.
Yeah. But again, that's why it's almost like they built the team around him and he can kind of do what he wants with the ball.
Right.
And you're going to put them, there's a few things. I'm going to calm for a second. I'm going to chill. One, Nico went around people's backs to get this done. This is true. He said this was the case when he did his press
admitted all of
the
it
other day. He admitted this. He said, I won't be here in 10 years anyway. So there's a bit of a YOLO attitude. He said, yeah, J Kid's right with me. And J Kid immediately looks like he was not with him. Mm-hmm. There are two options I see here. All the emotions subsided, all of the funerals that we're going to have, all of the sad edits that I can't stop doom scrolling through. Someone said the other day, man, some of these edits look like if you had just showed this to me out of context last week, I would assume that he got killed in a car crash. Like, it was like those levels of he's like, that's how crazy the straight is. So there's two options. One, and I'm going to try and give the best good faith argument I can to at least try and steel man this. That way I can ruin it. All right. But I got to make this as airtight as I can possibly consider. One, it was news. It wasn't news that I considered pushing for, but I've seen since the summer, there have been some issues with Luka and some of the, maybe some of his conditioning. The conditioning thing is an old argument in the sense of I remember this back post finals run. There was hey, maybe we got to make sure that he's, in this type of shape. They seemed minor, but there's a chance that Nico is looking at this situation like Brad Pitt and Josh Gad in Moneyball, and they see something in Luka that is so nuclear level catastrophic that nobody else does, that they're dumping a liability before the Supermax happens. That they cannot franchise this guy because he's not only unwell in whatever sense of the word you want that to mean. He is so dangerously unwell, and Nico was able to masterfully gaslight the Lakers into grabbing someone who they think is going to be a steal, because they're going to go from Chamberlain to Kareem to Kobe, to Shaq to Kobe to they're going to just keep going star after star after star, and so they're going, oh cool, here's our next generation already. Trick them into accepting what ends up being a massive liability, and now they have. This is where the argument starts falling apart, but cap space or Anthony Davis, or they see someone who's a senior in high school in some other Soviet bloc town that is just going off that nobody sees yet, and they're we're gonna sneak in, and when he declares for the draft, the 1 year they have their draft pick, this is it. That's the best argument I can come up with, and the secrecy is explained by the fact that they had to control the narrative.
Yeah.
In the sense
it's about narrative.
You had to sell him as this exclusive, hey, listen, don't call us tomorrow about this. We might change our minds. This is the type of crazy deal. That's the only thing I can think of.
That's the only thing that makes remote sense, because otherwise, if you're trying to trade Luka, how in the world are you not approaching the Oklahoma City Thunder or a team that has umpteen million first-round picks? Because the Lakers don't have a lot, right? I mean, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but
he doesn't have to
they
sign
only
the
have one
Supermax
other first round.
He doesn't have to sign the Supermax until I think next summer. So just play it out.
Yeah,
you can time it. Just play like, hey, if you think it's just complete liability, see if you can get one. Just see if you can get one in.
My question is, did Dallas think he was going to get worse? Right? Because that's the question. That's the only thing that justifies this trade. He's 25. The only thing that justifies this if he gets worse. But here's where we're at now with him. 5-time All-Star, 5-time first team All-NBA. He is second all-time in playoff points per game. Let me read that again. Second all-time in playoff points per game. He's third all-time in points per game in the regular season. I understand where some of the criticism comes in terms of his conditioning and his defense and some of that.
Yeah.
At some point, you can live with a guy that doesn't play defense and scores the second most points in NBA history in the playoffs and takes you to the NBA Finals. Yeah, there's some steps that need to be taken. To me, what's the goal? Dallas, is your goal to... I don't understand your goal here. Is your goal not to win championships? Because if your goal is to win championships, it is a far, far easier path to work with Luka and fix or help him with some of his weaknesses, as opposed to blowing this thing up and trying with Anthony Davis, who I love the guy. He's been the Lakers' best player, with all due respect to LeBron, who's been ridiculously good at age 40. With a guy that you can't count on him to play in the regular season. Luka has at least played for you this season, notwithstanding. This is the most time he's missed in a regular season so far. That's where this whole thing breaks down. No matter what mental gymnastics the Mavericks want to do, that's where it breaks down. And look, I know that series against the Celtics didn't go well. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well for anyone that tried to play the Celtics. They had one of the best, most dominant postseasons ever. And you made it through the West, right? Like, you beat some good teams to get to the finals.
There was criticism that the Celtics kind of skated through.
Yeah.
The Mavs had the grinds. And
the Mavs were playing really well until Luka went down, right? Like, I don't know what the record is after Christmas, but it's not good. It's
not great. And but even then it's like, we've seen this before. We've seen this. We saw this with Joe Burrow when he tore his ACL. We saw this with, I'm trying to think of who else recently has had that. I mean, it's not always worked out, but there have been plenty of times we've seen players have severe injuries or be injury prone and be like, you know what? Let's keep building. Let's keep them on for a year. See if we can figure something out. But even then, and again, Aaron, I appreciate you're trying to build this argument up. That would be true if Dallas, as the organization, wanted this to happen. And from all the reports that we've been able to see, nobody except for Nico, and Nico alone, wanted this trade to happen.
Mm-hmm.
He was laughed out of meetings. He was laughed out of the meeting when he called the Lakers. LeBron didn't even believe this was true. And not that a player should have any say, but it's LeBron, of course. Like, we've talked about this. Like, he's gonna be aware, and he wasn't. So again, we're trying to justify, like, hey, here's what a normal person might be doing. Now and it doesn't hold up. The flip side is the conspiracy that they're trying to sell the team to Vegas, and I don't think
they'll never move him out of the team out of Dallas.
They're fifth overall. They're fifth overall in attendance. They just came off a finals run.
It's not happening. That'll just be an expansion team.
It's not. It's gonna. No, they're not going to move it. Cuban's a minority owner, but I think he probably still has enough social pull. Dallas is a great sports city. Listen, we're in the same town that has America's football team, and the face of the city is Luka. If you drive down in Dallas, Luka is the face of the city. He's on all the posters. I don't see Dak anywhere. So, Johnny, can you let me grieve?
No, body's not even cold yet, but it doesn't matter.
There's a world in which Jerry Jones is the second worst general manager in the city of Dallas, and that's concerning. If this doesn't go well, that's what we're talking about.
And Aaron will know quick because it's Kyrie and AD's Well, right, but like on the court will quick because it's on AD and Kyrie's timeline now. So you moved up the timeline enormously just because of those players' ages and because of the injuries that they both have already had. And so, like, they better flip a switch quick. Like, without seeing them play yet, you got 2 years, man. You have 2 years probably to actually, like, and again, as we said, you made the finals last year. So anything short of an NBA Finals championship, and this trade's a failure. Like, it's an extremely high bar to hit because of what you've done. Mm-hmm. You are going to have a huge window open just having Luka on your roster and be able to try to manipulate the rest of your roster to get a little bit better every year until you can win that title. And you were darn close last season. A little bit from the Lakers' perspective, because we're focusing on the Mavs, as we should. All credit in the world to the Lakers. I mean, they fleeced the Mavericks. They didn't even give up Dalton Connect. They didn't give up anybody. They basically didn't give up anybody.
Yep.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous what they had to give up. Now, my one thing is the Lakers will be worse in the short term
this year. Yes.
Yes, because Luka is hurt. And also, I have some huge questions about Luka and LeBron coexisting on the floor.
Yes.
And especially defensively with both of them on the floor.
Yep.
Like that, I have massive questions about that. LeBron's been more and more and more of a point guard, but Luka is ball dominant. So I have even more questions really than I even did having that with Luka and Kyrie. I have more concerns about that when it comes to LeBron and Luka, especially because you gave up your best defensive player. Like, we're kind of making fun of the Mavs for AD. Like, the Mavs will be better defensively. The Lakers will be worse defensively. I'm not saying that means it's a good trade by any means. No. But the Lakers will be worse for this trade this season. Mm-hmm. But if you're the Lakers, this was about unlocking your future and not being beholden to LeBron anymore. It is now going to be Luka's team. Yeah. It's going to be Luka's team, and now you have a post-LeBron plan. They had no post-LeBron plan prior to this trade, and they have one now. And the Lakers will be a destination.
Yes.
They'll be a destination. Like, people will want to go play with Luka. Luka will be big time. He will draw numbers. He'll make the Lakers exciting well after LeBron is gone. Yeah. So for them, what an outstanding job. And to keep it quiet. I mean, they probably were like, nobody say anything. Everyone shut up. Nobody say a word, because if this gets out, we're screwed. It won't happen. So everybody needs to be quiet.
In the press conference, like, hey, big props to everyone for keeping this under wraps.
It's crazy.
I just can't. They only gave up one first round pick. Man. Rudy Gobert was like, what, 4? Was he up for 4?
Something crazy.
He's fat. You don't want him.
Like, I mean, here's one for context, right? 2019, Oklahoma City trades for Paul George to the Clippers. Here's what the Clippers gave up. Now, mind you, we didn't know how good some of these players were, but let me just read this anyways.
It's a bad trade.
SGA, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, and 4 still future first-round picks. 4 that haven't taken place yet. 4 first-round picks, SGA, Jalen Williams, all for Paul George.
Who SGA and Jalen Williams on their own is not worth Paul George.
Oh, SGA's not worth Paul George. Like, that's a fleece just getting SGA in that. And obviously Paul George not even on the Clippers anymore. So it's crazy.
These teams sometimes, man. I always think, like, man, you know, the average fan, like, we got to be humbled sometimes. We're like, oh, you know what? Like, they know more than us. These are business guys, or they follow the sport really well, and they have all the analytics and scouting. And, man, there's other times where I'm like, I could be an NBA GM because these trades are crazy.
All I have to do is not trade my franchise guy. And here's the thing. We were talking about, like, what are the specific strategic things that could be going on here. The vibe that I've gotten from multiple Mavs fans, from people on, I guess, the subreddit, on TikTok,
the people protesting right outside your door,
the people protesting right outside my door as I'm trying to have a nice Sunday nap.
Right.
See, I can't even talk about that fact that it's like 75 these 2 or 3 days. It's been beautiful. I go on walks.
Oh, it's great here too, Josh. Great. Wonderful.
The fans don't want a championship without Luka. This is let's say LeBron, let's talk about this. Imagine LeBron had the same type of struggles he had for the Cavs, but he's still dominant, and in his prime he gets traded to the Heat.
Like he doesn't leave, he gets traded.
He gets traded, yeah, without his consent, and they do a crappy trade because whatever. Let's just keep some parallels there. Remember when LeBron came back and he's like, "Hey, I want to win one for Cleveland," and that's what Mavs fans here have felt about Luka. July 6th, back in 2021, July 6th was officially designated by the city as Luka Doncic Day. He was going to get a statue right next to Dirk, right next to, I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, Mike Madonna.
Yep. Yes. He was going to be probably the third or fourth statue. This was going to be the face of Dallas sports, period. He was the American dream. A lot of people are going, and I'm not joking when they say, I don't know if I want to watch basketball anymore. I don't know if I want to watch it, at least the NBA. There's deep pain that I've seen. And it's like, it's more than just, hey, this is a stupid trade. Yes, it is. Nico Harrison, in the course of probably about close to 72 hours by the time we're recording this, or is it only 48? It feels billions.
It's less than 48, technically.
That's right. Gosh,
yeah.
It's not even nighttime.
Nope.
He has demoralized an entire fan base. There is no energy. Someone was saying, "Oh, the Lakers are set to play. The Mavs go to the Lakers February 25th, I think. It's most likely to be the most watched game. Maybe, not by Mavs fans. There's I've never seen, because we might talk about the Browns in a sec. There's been some demoralizing things that have happened with the Browns historically too, not just the recent news. But there's a bounce back at times, and maybe because this franchise hasn't seen this level of seeming ineptitude, there's we're not even gonna move to the Spurs. We're just gonna not. We're just gonna not watch. And again, we're under 48 hours, so there's some emotions that might. But I'm seeing nothing but. We would have rather no championships than a championship while trading Luka.
Sure.
This is the Avengers Endgame. What did it cost you? Everything. There is nothing in a lot of Mavs fans' eyes. There was nothing worth doing if it was going to be done without Luka on board. So I really don't know. Let's say the Mavs make a run this year, or they take the last half of the season, they settle in, and they make a run next year and go to the finals again and maybe win the finals. There's going to be very little celebration, truly, because it was not. Yeah, it was more than just the Mavs. It was always, we want to support Luka. Dirk didn't support this. Dirk helped the kid up, become who he was, and yeah, maybe his bones are made of glass. Maybe he has paper skin and glass bones. It was our bag of paper skin and glass bones is the vibe that I'm getting from Dallas.
Yeah. And
there are effigies being burned in his honor.
Right.
It's insane.
I totally understand the emotions. Again, like I said, my TikTok is like every other video. It's just like a distraught Mavericks fan. And I'm legitimately super sad for you. Josh, and I say this as someone who's removed from the situation. If the Mavericks win a championship next year with Kyrie, Anthony Davis, whoever they pull in, there will be a lot of celebration. I understand how Mavericks, and again, I'm saying that as if that's like a likely thing to happen. It's not. It's just straight up not a likely thing to happen. If it does, it'll be a very different vibe. And I can say that because I felt the same way when Michigan beat Ohio State. I was like, playoffs? I don't care. And now I'm sitting here and I got my magazine I bought at the store to commemorate the championship. And like we all are looking back on this season incredibly, incredibly fondly as Buckeye fans.
Oh, yes.
But again, Ohio State had a realistic path to a championship even then. The Mavericks, I don't think do. Johnny, going back to your point about the Lakers, because obviously that's probably the more relevant conversation in terms of who we think is going to contend in the future, we think. I'm kind of with you. Like this year, even though it sounds like Luka may come back even as soon as like this week, Saturday potentially.
They won't figure it out in time.
Right. That you're talking about 2 months to now. Here's where the Lakers are in a better position than where they have been in past years. In past years, they've made the big moves to, kind of redo the whole roster around Anthony Davis and around LeBron. And the problem then is you've had like a 500 team, right? So there's like an immediate need to figure it out just to survive in the play-in tournament. To the Lakers' credit, and I'll give JJ Redick and company a lot of credit for this, the Lakers were playing really, really good basketball. Part of that was Anthony Davis was actually healthy for once. That's a major, major component. But again, you're talking about basically 2 months to get this iteration of the team figured out. And defense, I know a lot of people are talking about defense. It's because it's a big deal. Let me just read you how NBA champions have stacked up defensively over the last 5 years. So just for reference, currently, and this was, again, with Anthony Davis, one of the better defenders in the game, the Lakers are currently allowing 112.3 points per game. That ranks 12th best in the NBA. Okay? 12th best. But here's the rankings of NBA Finals winners. Last year, the Celtics, 5th in the NBA, 109.2. The Nuggets in 23, ranked 8th. The Warriors in 2022, you think of the Golden State Warriors, you think of a ton of threes, you think of all that. Guess what? They were 3rd in the NBA in defense. There's an anomaly with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021. They gave up 114 points that year. They were 22nd. However, in the postseason, they improved their defense by almost 10 points, only giving up 105.2 in the postseason. And then the Lakers, when they did win it in the bubble with LeBron and Anthony Davis, of course, they ranked 4th in the NBA in defense. So again, this current Lakers defense is ranked 12th. Obviously, there's more factors than that. The year the Bucks had that 22nd ranked defense, I think they also had the top ranked offense. So you can overcome some defense, but you're talking about a team that's 12th in the NBA that is not only losing one of the best defenders in the game for my money, even though he is 32. Who's playing center for you? Is LeBron playing center? Like, that's a legitimate question. Like, when it comes down to crunch time minutes, who is playing center? Is it really going to be Jackson Hayes? Is it going to be Maxi Kleba, who you're getting in this trade, and who Luka, in fairness, has played with before? That's where
I do like Kleba as a player.
Yeah, I do too. But even he doesn't strike me as like and maybe I will be proven wrong.
He's really more of a 4.
Yeah, more of a 4 stretch guy. Like, he doesn't strike me as like some incredible defender. So that's like a glaring weakness for the Lakers. Now, maybe they figure it out where Luka is just scoring 35 points a game, where LeBron, and I'm with you, like my initial concern was, can LeBron and Luka coexist? And my first thought was, I don't know. I really don't know, because LeBron can be ball-centric, and obviously Luka is. Like, that's his whole game. And the more I've thought about it, the less I'm concerned about that, because LeBron is, in my opinion, the best passer in the league, and maybe in history. Now, what Jokic is doing at center is just ridiculous. And like, I think we're going to get to a point where we ask that question about Jokic with some of the stuff he does. But for right now, I mean, LeBron's a ridiculous passer. So if that works to where Luka is, instead of dribbling and then taking a step back from 40 feet and still hitting it, can he come off a screen and catch and shoot and knock down a bunch of threes that way? As good of a scorer as he is, I think the answer is probably yes. I think that, but that comes with time. And are you going to get that rhythm in 2 months? And that's assuming Luka is on track for this timetable of like Saturday or a week from now.
Because I think this is more like this is not as much of a LeBron Kyrie, or certainly not a LeBron Chris Bosh or LeBron AD. This is more of a LeBron D Wade mixture.
Yeah.
Where it's a little bit of overlapping skills, So it's gonna, and that took them almost an entire year to figure out.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying it's going to take a whole year, but to your point, Aaron, 2 months and Luka's not healthy and he already struggles with conditioning and defense. Like, he's not going to be conditioned, and it's just going to take him longer than 2 months. And you can slide down the table real fast.
Yeah, especially in the West. It's loaded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it got even more loaded with some of the other trades that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a good point. Now, long term, what better person for Luka to be around in terms of conditioning and defense, even though at this point LeBron's not a great defender, than LeBron, who famously is, spending $1 million on his body. Like,
probably more with
you talk to people
now.
in Dallas, the way they're treating the situation, he buys $1 million worth of food, which, like, again, okay, yeah, that's fine to have some issues there. I show you Zion, not to pick on the guy, and I show you Joel Embiid. And maybe it's
early Dirk. How about like the first 2 or 3 years
Sure.
of Dirk?
Sure. And you know what?
Maybe not to the same degree, but like,
yeah. Now, the Joel Embiid thing's fascinating because I do wonder if some of the trepidation in giving Luka that deal is what exactly has happened with the Sixers, right? Because Embiid just signed that monstrous deal, and now it's injuries, but it's kind of the same thing where, like, okay, there's been this big question mark of like, all right, is Embiid coming back? Like, is he? And then something else happens, and like, again, that may be no fault of his at all. Maybe it's just because he too has been built of glass bones and paper skin, and every morning he breaks his arms and every evening he breaks his legs, or whatever that SpongeBob saying is, right? But I mean, I don't know. To me, this was not an issue of Luka like missing entire seasons. Like, oh boy, is he worth this money? What he had given you so far was worth the money. It just was. And that's where, at the end of the day, this doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. We'll see. Obviously, we have to play basketball. That's the beauty of it. The ball needs to be dribbled. The ball needs to be shot. Some defense needs to be played. So we'll see. But look, these two teams play in, I think, less than 3 weeks. So that'll be fun. Hopefully everyone's healthy and ready to go, because Josh, you said it, that may be one of the most watched games, if, to your point, and it's a good one, if the Dallas Mavericks are watching it. And honestly, if they don't, I think the rest of the world's going to be tuned in anyway, so I'm not sure it's going to matter.
There's going to be there's going to be a lot of hate watch.
True.
And I believe
they're going to be cheering for the Lakers.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, the amount of people who have already gotten Luka. I mean, this is our generation's LeBron, in a sense.
But they traded him. He didn't opt to leave.
Imagine if LeBron never had the chance to become a villain.
I might have. It's honestly a fair question. Would 12-year-old Johnny have jumped ship with LeBron if he was traded instead of leaving as a free agent? Yeah. It's an interesting question.
It is. I remember the jersey burning. Like, there was some frustration, and then we all went, okay, maybe we're all 12, and we can calm down a sec.
I mean, I kind of jumped. Like, I wasn't a Cavs fan really at that age. Like, I really never considered I rooted for them, obviously, and they're also from Ohio. But when LeBron moved to Miami, I understood people's anger, but I kind of rooted for the Heat for the most part. And that's there's a lot of people, especially Ohio people, just screaming at me. And
okay, Johnny,
I get it.
I started cheering for the San Antonio Spurs at that point, because they're the only ones who could stop them in the finals.
I get that.
I always forget. I can never make a move so. I really do love your pettiness.
I was sick, man. I was sick.
Go with your level of pettiness, and you're a true hater, and I appreciate.
I am a true hater. That was true.
You hate correctly.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Oh no, that burned, man. 12-year-old Johnny was burned.
I get it.
Yeah.
And I feel like because we think about it now, our age, we're like, oh, that sucks, Mr. Adult Dallas Mavericks fan. Like, I understand, be sad for a little bit and then suck it up and go about your day job and all this stuff. Which even that's probably unfair to say. Yeah, there's 12-year-old kids who are just like devastated right now because Luke is all they've ever known.
Oh, yeah. They woke up to it. They weren't awake. Oh, that 12-year-old poor kid. He probably thought it was a nightmare. That's cruel and unusual punishment. But Hey, I mean, if you want a
Yeah,
prediction, this will not end well for the Mavs. It will not end well at all.
No,
I'm not
this is
saying
gonna
they can't
end
win a series in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying or something like that. They're not winning an NBA championship. And if they don't, anything short of that, this trade is a failure.
Yep.
It is. It is a failure. So that's
This
a
is
very
an-
high bar to clear.
Absolutely
But that's how high of a
is.
bar they
There's-
themselves
yeah,
achieved
there's-
last year. So
Yep.
you did it to
They
yourself.
said it themselves.
Right.
Yep, they
Yeah,
did it
this is-
totally to themselves.
Outside of the emotions, I mean, I remember Nico Harrison in the interview. He said, "Listen, I wanted a." Was something that he believed as a general manager he needed. He said many times, "Hey," and he said this very specifically, and it really felt like a Moneyball move. I mean, it really was hey, well, you can't start him. Why? Because he plays for he
Right.
plays for the Phillies now. Whatever that line is.
The Tigers.
It was just hey, it's kind of the Tigers. Thank you.
I shouldn't know. I shouldn't know that. That's ridiculous that I have that memorized.
That's all right. No, it's okay. I watched that clip a few times this past few days for no particular reasons. Okay. It's a good movie.
Mhm.
We're just going to be talking about it. That's a good movie. It's probably one of my favorite sports movies. But Nico said a few times, and then one very directly, he said, my job as a GM is to help support the coach's coaching style by getting him players that will best fit with that, even if he's not aware of that. It was to that tune. And if I misquoted, I apologize, but I think I grabbed the gist of what Nico was saying there. There's something very interesting. There's a level of confidence here. Is at the very least interesting. I'm not going to go into conspiracy theories yet. I've not dug into the new owners and their history. I know they have stuff within casinos. I'm not going to get into that yet. It's not worth it. Not enough is out on them. Everything at this point is just but I'm just going to be following this a little bit and seeing what the goal is, because it is it's going to be a very roundabout way of getting success.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
At the very least.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'd be remiss if I did not include, just to make this story even more bizarre, I just love the Utah Jazz getting a phone call. They're like, hey, we'd like to trade you Jalen Hood-Schifino and a couple of second-round picks. And in my mind, the conversation went from the Utah went oh, okay, sweet. Great. We don't have to give you any.
Thanks.
Wait, why? And then they say, we're trading Anthony Davis for Luka, and then they hang the phone up. And then that's just it. So congratulations, Utah. You get 2 free second-round picks and Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Yeah. That's a contract offloading. That's all that is. They got 2 picks for paying his salary.
Mm-hmm. So congrats, Utah. Biggest losers is probably Dallas. Runner-up is probably the Sacramento Kings, because now you're talking about a team that has taken Tyrese Halliburton and traded him away, and De'Aaron Fox traded him away most recently, and you received Domantas Sabonis and Zach LaVine. That's not great for you. Now, unfortunately, and I say this with sadness in my heart for Sacramento fans, pretty par for the course for you all, but
yes,
tough there. But you know what? Luckily for you, Sacramento Kings, we're not really talking about you, because we are talking about what is probably a disaster for the Dallas Mavericks. So anyways, that's that.
Thanks for ruining Groundhog Day. I couldn't even celebrate.
There's more weeks of winter, Josh.
Which is appropriate for.
That's okay. I saw Adam Schefter reported it way too soon. It was fine. I just spent my Sunday distracting myself by watching nothing but edits of Punxsutawney Phil. They're fantastic.
I was just staring into the void. just constantly.
I'll see you were staring into the void for different reasons.
Could have happened.
Yep.
No, that was this afternoon. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that
we'll
later.
get there.
We'll talk about that later.
We are aware that the Super Bowl is happening on Sunday.
Yeah, the Super
Bowl is happening. That has not been canceled in light of this trade.
5D chess over here.
Yeah. Which, hats off to you, NBA. Time and time again, you find a way to just crank up the drama to 100. Well, really 200. And So good on you. They said ratings were down. So you know what? If you really want to go full conspiracy, ratings were down, so the NBA had to pull off some insane trade.
People kept saying the NBA solved basketball. Guess what? We're going to cause more problems.
Yep.
Get them back. Hey, if you've solved the game of basketball, you can make other problems. Basketball.
Yeah, that's about right. So yes, the Super Bowl is happening. The Eagles need to run the ball. There's your key to the game. If the Eagles run the ball well, they probably win. If they don't, they probably lose. I think it's actually that simple, even though we're talking about Patrick Mahomes on the other side. We'll at least give you a recap. How's that sound? Unless something insane happens again next week, we'll at least give you a recap. We'll throw some thoughts out there on Twitter as far as what we think is going to happen with this game. But we got to move on because who knows how long this episode is going to be. So,
Aaron, who do you have winning though? Because we lost our chance on points.
You're right.
Josh picked the Chiefs, right? Josh, you picked the Chiefs to beat the Eagles. So Josh is the only one who has a point to gain. Mm-hmm. So Aaron, who do you think does win?
I do think the Eagles are actually going to be able to run the football with Saquon, with Jalen Hurts.
You think they win?
I think they pull it out because also again, they were darn close 2 years ago. And now here's where I think it's different. Jalen Hurts played
really well.
Jalen Hurts almost played better than Patrick Mahomes, arguably. Now, I don't think that happens again, but I also don't think he has to play that well. If he manages the game well, and if Saquon can do Saquon things, like his season has been so good. If I had an MVP vote, and I'm saying this and now I probably will never be given an MVP vote, even though I wasn't going to in the first place, I would have given serious consideration to giving it to Saquon Barkley. Probably the reason people don't is because the Eagles were good before he got there and they're still good now. But I'm telling you, he is so good. So I think if they can figure out how to establish the run, then they can do just enough. So I got the Eagles in a close one. I'm gonna give me Eagles 26-23.
I have the same type of thought process, Aaron. I think it's all about the Eagles' offense against the Chiefs' defense that dictates the winner of the game. However, I think the Chiefs have the secondary to go solo and leave their corners on islands. Spagnuolo has just a knack. You give him this much time to get ready for a game. That Chiefs defense is not given remotely enough credit because Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are on the other side of the ball. That defense is really the foundation of this team, specifically this year, at least. The foundation of the team really does begin with the defense. I think they're able with McDuffie to go the only way the Eagles win, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith have to win on these one-on-one matchups, and Jalen Hurts has to make the Chiefs pay so they can't keep the box loaded for Saquon. Because the one thing about a great running back, no matter how good he is, if the other team is not respecting play action and the passing game, they will be stopped. Other than Barry Sanders, I've never seen a running back be able to just blast through 8-man boxes when the team knows you're running on a consistent basis. So to me, it's almost more, do I trust Jalen Hurts and those receivers to win against Trent McDuffie and that secondary on the Chiefs? I don't trust them to do it enough, and I'm sick and tired of betting against Patrick Mahomes and losing. So I'm going to pick the Chiefs. Similar score, just inverse it with Aaron. I don't think this is a super high scoring game by any means. Low to mid 20s. And Josh, you have the Chiefs, of course, as well. Me and Aaron don't get points for that, by the way. Just our predictions. Josh will get a point again.
Yeah, which, speaking of points.
Sometimes the guys make picks based on their vast knowledge of sports. Sometimes they make picks based on vibes.
To me, North Florida is either losing their first game against Austin Peay by 1 billion, or they're winning the Atlantic Sun and making a Sweet 16 run, and there's no in between.
There's no in between.
Either way, they're probably going to be wrong. It's time for Picks of the Week.
It is Picks of the Week, and Josh, with the points to be scored in the Super Bowl potentially, that would increase his lead on the Season 3 5th and goal scoreboard for Picks of the Week. Josh has 5 points. Johnny and I have 4 points because our good friend, good friend, Doug Gottlieb lost another game. Green Bay goes down to Detroit Mercy. my jaw stayed in its place. Unlike Marchenko from the Blue Jackets, and I'm not even going to be able to talk about the Blue Jackets, and I should because they deserve it, but just more injury disaster upon injury disaster for the Blue Jackets. It's continuing, but the season ended today. They're in the wild card spot. There's my Blue Jackets plug. Probably more on that next week. Yes, but that takes us to this week. After that Detroit Mercy win over Green Bay, I will say a little bit. Now, I'm glad we picked what we picked, but there are 364 Division I college basketball teams, men's college basketball teams. Teams number 363 and 364 played this week. So we had literally by the net rankings, yes, the two worst teams played, and it was the Mississippi Valley State, the Delta Devils, got the win.
Always.
Yep.
They're always there. Wait, are you telling me Green Bay's not one of the bottom two teams?
No, because Green Bay had 2 wins, which, believe it or not, helps them get out of the bottom 2 at least. So,
who did Mississippi Valley State beat?
Well, that's a good question.
The Delta Devils. They are perennially at the bottom.
Yeah, they're
awful.
They beat. Oh, am I wrong about this? I might be very
did they
wrong.
lose?
Let's see what date. Oh no, here we go. They beat Arkansas Pine Bluff, the Golden Lions.
Arkansas Pine Bluff's that bad?
Yeah.
Oh, that's disappointing. They're better than that.
Now, well, this is interesting because I said that 2 wins is enough to get you out of the net. I think it's because of the conference that these teams play in. Like, they just don't have the strength of schedule.
It's
because
like
Mississippi Valley State is now 3-19, and Arkansas Pine Bluff is now 3-18. Green Bay's record is now 2-21 or 2-22, whatever it is. So it's worse. So there is an argument to be made
of the bottom 16 teams in a tournament in the postseason. Yep. We need that.
Yes, we do.
It would feed families.
Yeah, it would. This week, we are sticking with the subject, especially for Josh, of pain and misery. We are picking the Houston Rockets at the Dallas Mavericks. It's pain and misery because, obviously, no Luka. This is not the first game without Luka, but it's really starting to kick in. This will also be a home game. This is happening on Saturday. The other piece to it is that the Houston Rockets are actually pretty good this year. Last I looked, they were the 2 or 3 seed in the West. They've accumulated a lot of really good young talent over the last couple of years. It's been a painful process to get to this point, but they're playing really well. And it's not like they're accidentally in the 2 or 3 seed in the West. Like, the West is a gauntlet. For reference, the Golden State Warriors, who are hovering around 500, they're currently the 11 seed. They would actually just straight up miss the play-in tournament this year if the season ended today. So that's some context there. I've got Houston winning. I almost thought about kind of like a reverse psychology, Dallas Mavericks winning, like, all right, kind of a rallying cause. They're at home. Anthony Davis would be playing at this point. But I just couldn't do it. I think there's still a little bit, just too much heartache. And again, it was wrong timing to play the best team in the NBA record-wise. The Cavs set records for most three-pointers made in franchise history, most points, like basically everything.
They had 91 points at half. It was total Cavalanche.
Right. But the bench is just sitting there shell-shocked, not only because it was 50-19 or whatever it was at the end of the first quarter, but just because of all the circumstances. I don't think a week or less than a week is enough time for Dallas to figure it all out. So I've got the Houston Rockets, and maybe comfortably, even though they're on the road.
Same. There's no. I'll probably go to the protests outside the stadium. But
Josh, I almost sent you and said just record. Yes, log into our Instagram account.
Please report live from the protest. Absolutely. The Browns are going to protest. We'll talk about that later.
I'm not doing anything. Oh my gosh, I saw a lot of Dallas, Texas TV. It's kind of like the pop culture within Dallas, and it was like protest, and I'm like, oh, it wasn't the Dallas protest. It wasn't the. It was a different type of protest. But I immediately went, oh, have they already organized? So no, don't worry. I'm going. I can take the train there. Don't you worry. I don't even have to.
Yes, outstanding.
I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna whatever that SpongeBob meme is. If there's a guy selling pitchforks, I'll buy a pitchfork.
Pitchforks and torches.
I might sell pitchforks. Gotta make money somehow. Gotta monetize this. Or I can get in for $50. Not great seats. Like, it's still gonna be
for the protest.
It's still gonna be.
Well, at that point, it's the protest within the stadium.
It's free to go to the protest
within the arena.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, hold on a sec.
I could
You shouldn't have to pay to it. Josh, that's a scam. If anybody ever tells you have to pay to attend a protest, it's a scam.
Yeah.
That's just a public service announcement for all our listeners. Don't do that.
That's called the First Amendment, baby. I don't have to pay to protest.
That's right.
I can do it right here.
Yep.
Take that, British.
Yeah.
For everything that Aaron and Josh said,
yeah,
I'm also picking the
I don't
Rockets.
think they're gonna figure it out yet.
Yeah. It's just, AD will be back. Like he'll be playing with the Mavericks, which is the only that does make this interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it'll take as long for the rest of the Mavs roster to adjust to AD, like we mentioned Luka and the Lakers roster. Like AD kind of is a much easier, seamless fit into most teams in comparison, just because he's not ball centric. Like he's going to play the 4/5. Like he'll fit in quicker. It's still not remotely enough time, and it's against a way too good of an opponent to get away with that. And there's no big travel advantage. It's Houston to Dallas. So even the ancillary things that might be able to help the Mavericks out a little bit, I don't expect that to be enough. So I'll still go with Houston as well. But I think what Aaron said is what I'm most intrigued with this game. What's the vibe within the team?
Yeah.
Is almost more interesting to watch in this game than actually the winner. Just like, can Kyrie, who's never really been able to be a leader and galvanize a team, can him and AD pick up the team and kind of start that process? Neither one of these guys has really been able to do that before, and now they do. So that'll be really interesting to see kind of as they begin to start to make it their team.
Yeah. And it's not like we're talking about this Dallas team being like, 14th in the West. Like,
no, they'll be good.
Yeah. The point for them is to compete and compete right away. So it starts, it technically started Sunday, but we're ignoring that because AD wasn't obviously in the building. And so.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I feel so bad because otherwise we the Cavaliers are on a historic run.
And they are, to be fair, but yeah. 40-9.
I've enjoyed watching the joy of the Cavaliers.
Mm-hmm. It's been great.
Yeah,
it's been a fun team.
I never tightly followed the Cavs, but it's been fun. And it's like, okay, I appreciate that y'all are having fun post LeBron and that you're able to find success post LeBron, because that's always, that itself is like very cool. So like all props to them. That's been fun to watch. I appreciate that. And especially since the Cleveland in this time has not, but again, we'll get into that.
Yeah. Well, really thinking about this Dallas Mavericks team, all they're really missing with their current roster composition is just like a point guard that averages like 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. I think that's really what they're missing. So.
Oh, there was a guy. Hold on one sec. I could have sworn there was a guy who was traded. I think he was, if I remember correctly, like second all time in points per game during the finals. Yeah, there's 6th all-time playoff triple, 7th all-time in regular season triple doubles. So that guy just got traded. So let me see. I can't pronounce his last name. Doncic.
Yep.
So I think maybe that guy might be
Nailed
good.
It. Yep. Yep. I had to get that one in there. All right. Speaking of getting
Josh Allen should get coffee with me because of all the memes I'm gonna have to.
Yes. Yeah, he
owes me a.
That's right. That's exactly right.
The guys spent hours scrolling social media, and they found some pretty dumb stuff. Now they want to talk to you about it.
The real ones know that we would call it ooey pooey.
Ooey pooey.
R.I.P. to ooey pooey.
Ooey pooey's the answer.
I didn't even need to.
Yeah. Never mind.
Good luck. It's time for What We're Following.
Well, we're following like 90 million things, so we're going to attempt...
Oh, there's so many.
And I say attempt because this, no promises. We're going to attempt to narrow it down to just a couple things. Now, one of the things that what we've done here is now we're going to move, because there's so, let me, that was a lot of words. Because there's so many things we're following. Number one, I forgot how English works, and how speaking works. Number two, because a lot has happened, what happens when a lot of things are happening is it's easier for us, and it's already easy, to find things to complain about. So we are now entering Inception level events on this podcast. We are in the What We're Following segment, and we're taking you inside to a different segment.
They put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Right to jail, right away.
That's right. It's the first official edition of Straight to Jail. It took us, I don't know how it took us this long an episode or season 3 to get here, but here we are. It's Straight to Jail. Now, before I throw someone in jail, I do want to say, public service announcement, the Utah Hockey Club, new franchise, technically speaking, in the NHL, very shortly, they are deciding by fan vote what they're going to be called moving forward. So the top 3 options are the Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Mammoth, which apparently is the plural of mammoth. Apparently it's just, but that seems wrong. We'll maybe figure out what the plural.
Mammi?
Mammi comes to mind. Mammothin.
Mammoths.
Mammoths.
Mammothin.
Mammoths.
I think I like Mammothin.
Mammothin. All right, so that if they decide to go with that, which by the way is the leading option, the Utah Mammothin, as we will be calling
That's better
them.
than Hockey Club.
Yes. And the Utah Outlaws. But here's the issue, and here's why I am throwing the Utah Hockey Club in jail. Actually, it's not so much, well, it's a combination of them and someone else. Let me explain.
Okay.
One of the other options for this Utah Hockey Club, which is what we discussed a long, long time ago when there was like 10 different options, is the Utah Yetis, which is great. Why would you not want to have like a mythical creature like the Kraken? The Seattle Kraken, that's outstanding.
Yes. Amazing.
The Utah Yetis would have been, or maybe it was, I don't know, we'll call them Yetis. Basically, that name got nixed because Yeti, the company, Yeti, the water bottle I'm hitting, basically said, sorry, we have this copywritten or trademarked or all the above, whatever.
How? It's a water bottle and cooler.
Right.
It's not remotely the same thing.
And someone on TikTok pointed out.
That's why I'm
not Yeti.
No, that's why I'm an Awala guy.
Oh, there you go.
Even though it's mirrored.
Yep. So
And
someone on TikTok pointed out,
still
and
have
I
it.
apologize,
Okay.
I don't have their username right in front of me. They suggested that why would you not just pair with Yeti and have one of the best like sponsorships ever? You would just call it Yeti Arena. It would be Yeti. And you could, if you're Yeti, the company, you could say like, hey guys, this is now technically speaking the world's biggest cooler. It's just our ice rink arena. I'm like,
It's the biggest cooler.
it's so good.
oh, that's
So
brilliant.
straight to jail, both of you. Straight to jail, the franchise. Straight to jail, the company. Because you both could have put your brains together on this, and instead,
Man.
the Utah Hockey Club. I don't know, the way I understand it, didn't want to step on any toes and didn't want to, whatever. So straight to jail, Utah Yeti.
They missed out on an opportunity of a lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Now, one other straight to
that's
jail before I
terrible.
hand it off. Dylan Raiola.
Bad.
You are
Oh,
so cringe. Straight to jail for just being excessively cringe. That's it. That's
And
all I'll
identity
say.
fraud.
Yeah,
Identity fraud.
that's true. That's a crime. We can put him in jail for identity
Yes.
theft. That's it. That's who I'm throwing in
Josh,
jail.
can I go next? Because I think yours is
No,
just going to like set us
mine's
all
actually
off.
oh no, mine's
It's going to set me
mine's
off.
pretty minor actually. So I'm gonna save those big ones. You can take those. Enough.
Oh,
You can take the two that I have a
okay.
funny one, and then you can take what I leave.
Okay.
I'm sending the entire city of Dallas to jail, not for the reason you
Oh.
think. There's a trend that you guys may have seen that started in Dallas, and it's where you get a baseball cap, either a pre-bent or one of those just classic
Flat bills?
flat brimmed, I don't know, snapbacks, flat bills. Yeah, one of those like classic snapback. And you get the city of Dallas on it, or whatever town to be in, but this started in Dallas. But the logo or the lettering upside down. The hat, you're wearing the hat like normal, like a normal person, but the lettering itself is upside down.
yeah.
You see it here. And I notice it more and more. And it's stupid. It was started in February or March of 2020 by a brand out of Dallas. And it's like, well, the world's turning upside down hats. No. I get it, but no. Dumb.
I
I
agree.
want a fashion jail.
Yeah, I agree, Josh.
That menswear guy would have a.
I was gonna say, oh no, the menswear guy is gonna get you.
The menswear guy is gonna materialize and pull up.
Man, I mean, I never want to get on that guy's side. No way.
Never.
No way.
Oh my gosh,
man.
I can't expose. I can't say what the menswear guy exposed the one guy for last week.
No, you can't.
I can't.
You
I can't. A guy gave a slightly snarky comment to the menswear guy, and he went, "Oh, let me pull up your arrest record from years ago."
I mean, he went nuclear option on that.
He went nuclear so fast.
Oh man,
that's mine. I decided to keep it a little light.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought that up.
Then obviously, Nico Harris.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you brought that up, Josh, because I was sitting there watching the Grammys last night with Danielle, and I don't know why in the world we'd ever be invited to go to the Grammys, but I was telling her, like, because you see all these people walking in on the red carpet, and all the fashion people. This is what prompted this conversation. All the fashion people are like, well, this person's wearing this dress from this person and this whatever. If I would ever get invited to the Grammys again, why I don't know. But I would love to just walk in and unironically wear just like a suit from Kohl's and just force the announcer to say like, oh, and here's Aaron Lynn and his dress tonight is from Kohl's. I think that would just be incredible.
Pull out that clip-on tie.
That poor announcer would probably have an aneurysm.
Aaron, who are you wearing? I don't know. I got this at Parshall's.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. TJ Maxx, or maybe it's Mrs. Mr. TJ Maxx. I don't know if that's a male or female, but
who are you wearing? Timu.
Aaron, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
Make him say Timu.
Yeah,
Make
Amazon
Timu,
Basics,
please.
baby. Let's go.
Oh man, I'm all about
And thus,
that.
another
Common
reason
man,
why I'll
man
never
of the
be allowed.
people.
Right on the spine.
Man of the people.
That's right.
I just dress like Adam Sandler does on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Puffy coat,
Yep.
oversized gym shorts, ready to go, man. Ready to go. I'm going to enjoy watching the Grammys in comfort. In comfort. In comfort. And Josh, you're just gonna have to sit on that one because now it's my turn. You can't fight me on that. But so my original straight to jail, and it is still a straight to jail, and this is the most serious straight to jail out of all of them, is the Associated Press. Not for their college football poll, not for
They're
being,
already in jail for that.
not for being like a biased media. Actually, they're
can't do double
relatively central, which is good for them.
All right.
But
All right.
because they are here, and you know what? I'll just read the title. That'll be better. It'll get more hatred that way. Winging it for the Super Bowl? Broccoli might be a cheaper party snack this year. Jail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to read the text. Twitter always says before you retweet, would you like to read the article first for context? No, Twitter, I don't need context because that sentence is never correct. Never correct. Josh, you're right. It is cheaper than the wings. But to suggest that broccoli is a proper replacement for wings is sacrilegious. It's beyond jail. Beyond jail.
I love. They are not the same foods.
They're not the same foods. Yeah, they didn't say, "Hey, man, maybe have some pulled pork instead of wings." Like, I can disagree with that, but that's like, well, all right. It's kind of a 1-for-1. I get that.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, like it's a much better deal. Let's do that. Do burgers this year instead of wings. Like, cool, man. Like, agree to disagree. Like, but we're good. Swapping out a meat for a vegetable, gross. Wrong every time, sir.
Would be less
jail.
Offensive. Here's a less offensive headline, Johnny, and I think you would me.
Mm-hmm.
Winging it this Super Bowl, try not eating.
Yeah.
That would go over better than replace it with broccoli.
Mm-hmm. Because
right,
eating
and
broccoli is like an acknowledgement that like somewhere in this process, someone messed up horrifically.
Yeah.
Not eating is
it's
kind of
on the, like,
ignoring.
Hey guys, I'm so sorry. I
There's
burned
always
all
the
wings.
tray
Right.
of raw vegetables in the corner of the table with all the food.
Sure.
Yes.
And maybe you have some raw, like some of like with the raw carrots and celery
Have
and
some
the
of those little
peppers.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like raw broccoli too. Nobody eats it, but it's there. All right, sure,
It's
fine.
there.
It has its place. It's
Yeah.
there. But to replace the main course, you guys are absolutely right. That's jail.
Yeah.
On a more sour note, I don't even know who's going to jail on some of these, but the state of Ohio, because some of it's just, man, I feel bad for the fan bases. State of Ohio is feeling it right now.
I mean, the
now,
Haslams.
there
I
is
said the
one
Haslams.
specific family that is absolutely in jail, and that is the Haslams.
Yep.
Myles Garrett today, we talked about the baseball thing today, just everything. There's other storylines also that we haven't even been able to mention. We don't even have time to mention them today because it's so full. Like, we didn't need the Super Bowl this week. Cucho Hernandez, star forward for the Columbus Crew, won the title a couple of years ago with said Crew. Like, runner-up for MVP, probably should have won the MVP, honestly. But Messi's in the league, so he basically just wins it for existing. Is sold from the Columbus Crew 3 weeks before the season, less than, to Real Betis, which is in La Liga, for $16 million. It's a decent transfer fee. Good for him that he's going to, Real Betis. It's the first division for La Liga. It's a great opportunity for him. But here's why it's jail, because you're like, Johnny, like Aiden Morris left last year for Middlesbrough in England. Like, this is how soccer works. Yes, it is how soccer works. However, Cucho said that he would like to stay. He said, I love Columbus. I want to be the captain here. I want to stay. He's only 25. The soccer market moves fluidly, but he said he wanted to stay. And the Haslams were too cheap to pay the man, and he wasn't even asking for double figures in the millions of dollars. Like, it was reportedly like $8 or $9 million. And the Haslams easily have that money. It's just absurd. And to do it less than 3 weeks before the season, and to give yourself almost no time in the transfer market window to pick up a replacement is screwing over the fans. And they had the audacity, after that news came out later this afternoon, to ask for me to buy season tickets to the game. Well, season tickets are sold out, but partial plans are still available. And I'm like, heck no. I'm glad I talked myself out of that one. Also, Myles Garrett asking for a trade from the Browns, a la Haslam's ownership.
Yep.
The Deshaun Watson trade, as we've mentioned before, has ruined the career and prime of multiple of their players, none more so than Myles Garrett. And all the fans, credit to them, are backing Myles Garrett.
Yep.
They're not mad at Myles Garrett at all. They're like, yeah, man, trade him because you guys have screwed him over and he deserves better than this. So that's going on. And then I'll also say Bengals ownership continues to be in jail just because Jamar Chase isn't signed still. And then there's no jail for these last two. Aaron already mentioned Marchenko suffering the broken jaw. I guess jail is just bad fortune and injury luck for this Blue Jackets team. They're somehow in the wild card spot with all these injuries. But Marchenko was leading the Blue Jackets with 21 goals, and he was second in assists and points on the team as well. So that is not going to be somebody that they can just replace, unfortunately. And then every single assistant coach for Ohio State football is also leaving. So the offensive line coach, he's gone to the Cardinals. Chip Kelly's to the Raiders. Knowles is to Penn State. So it's been a few days, man. It's been a few days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a good thing the Buckeyes won the national title because it's a rough like few days here in Ohio. Just kind of, and specifically today, those first three things I said all happened today. So that's been as a Crew fan, I thought we were so close to the transfer window, we were safe. I was like, oh, sweet. Like, we're going to hold on to Cucho. I bet we're going to get a deal done. how foolish of me to assume that that would happen. So jail to the Haslam ownership group, because I am thankful that you helped save the crew, but I also hate you for not keeping Cucho, because we had a legitimate chance to win the MLS Cup this year with him, and now we'll be fortunate to make the playoffs.
Yep. Well, hey, good news. I hear the Los Angeles Dodgers are going to sign Cucho Hernandez. So
I heard they might sign Miles Garrett.
Yeah, true. I just saw Cooper
Nico,
Kupp's being traded, so he's on the market for the Dodgers too.
Defense wins championships.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's all the Dodgers are missing. Just a defensive end from that. That's a whole conversation we have not gotten to, and we will at some point. But
this is going to be a slight sequel on my suggestion that every single sport have an option to have a rifle in it.
Right.
What if I modify that slightly? What if I slightly amend that?
Mm-hmm.
Like you kick the field goal but if you pull out the rifle and shoot the ball midair, you get like an extra point. Like it's 4 instead of 3.
Every sport has to find a way to biathlon their sport by adding a rifle as a legitimate way of adding points. But we could do something else where, like, let's say because of the situation Miles Garrett is in, let's say we let one defensive player, and I think it's funny if we stay defensive, he can play in any sport he wants to that has an assumption of contact. And I'm considering basketball, baseball.
Baseball's not what
any sport's a contact sport if you try.
Johnny,
baseball can be a contact sport. It's not supposed to be a contact sport.
Johnny, I played baseball with you.
The contact was between me and the ball, Josh, not in another. It was.
What's the difference between a ball hitting you at, 95 miles an hour because you want to walk, and Miles Garrett running at you as the ball is coming at you as well?
I don't know which one.
Yeah, you're right, Josh.
More.
Hitting's gotten too easy in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's gotten too easy. What we know is the numbers are up.
Really, the MLB has solved baseball.
Yeah, right.
I don't know which hurts more, the ball or Miles Garrett.
Oh, Garrett for sure. With no pads.
I don't know. It depends where that ball's hitting you.
Well, that's true.
Where's that ball hitting you?
I'm putting Miles at first.
I don't know, man.
Try and get on first base. I dare you.
Yeah.
Is Miles head hunting? Is the ball head hunting? Like, where is the ball hitting me? Like in my thigh? Then yeah, I'll take that. If it's hitting me like in the rib cage or sternum or my head, I don't know. Like I don't know.
I mean, technically you have a little bit of control over like where the ball hits you, right? Like, you could duck. You ain't ducking Miles Garrett, bro.
You're not running away either.
No,
you might say, "Oh, he's a big friend."
Oh no,
he is so much faster than all of us, and that makes him even more scary at that size.
He gets to Terry Tate in any sport he wants to for just a game.
Yeah.
In basketball, if he wants to level somebody on the field, we're not doing a Malice at the Palace again, because that wasn't funny. I don't think it's funny yet.
It's kind
of funny. It's kind of funny now.
I mean,
it's kind of funny.
Sometimes you just got to throw a chair.
Yeah,
after you've already been down. It's okay.
Yeah. The Pistons are trying their best to recreate that with Isaiah Stewart, but it's fine. It's fine. He was suspended on his own bobblehead night, which was hilarious.
There's too many stories.
I know.
There's too many. There's too much.
Stop having things happen.
Yep.
Hey, can we agree? Hey, here's our call to action this week.
Yes.
Have nothing happen. We want a Super Bowl winner to talk about.
Okay.
And that's it. I want nothing else.
No shot.
No
that
way.
Happens.
No, not the chance.
The trade deadline's still not over for the NBA.
It's a call to action. I'm commanding it to happen. It won't happen by itself. We have to command it. And I'm not saying manifest. No, command.
Okay. No drama. Just normal Super Bowl, normal game.
You tell Travis
no referees involving. Right. Yeah, exactly,
engaged.
Johnny. No engagements.
Exactly.
No
engagements.
preferably no Super Bowl celebration. Just everyone shake hands at
Well,
the
no,
end of
and
the
there's
game
also-
and just walk away.
Yeah.
Did Taylor win any Grammys last night as of this recording?
When
I
I
believe
stopped
so.
watching, she hadn't, but I don't know what she was up for. Well,
Oh,
also
man,
Kendrick
what a
Lamar
loser.
won everything. So that's speaking of drama. How about that kind of hate for one person? He had so much hate for one person that he ended up with 5 Grammys. That's
a lot of hate, man.
Yeah.
And his hatred won.
You know what he's doing?
Yes.
Totally
You know what he's doing
won.
next week?
Yeah.
He's going to be doing that thing for 10 minutes of his Super Bowl halftime show.
Sure is.
They always taught us growing up that love conquers all. I don't know, man. hate has a pretty strong push right now.
Yeah.
Love
Very strong
conquers
push right
all,
now.
Hate makes bangers.
That's a bar, Josh.
That's
a bar.
There's no better way to end the show. So with that, listeners, viewers, thanks for tuning in. Yeah. Wow, what a week. Excited for the Super Bowl mostly. We'll talk about it next week. Yeah, I got to leave it with what Josh said. That was perfect. All right, get out of here. We'll talk to you next week.
Aaron, that's the title. That's the title of the episode. Love conquers all. Hate creates bangers.
YouTube, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. See you guys. Yeah, that's great. That might very well be the